was killing you with tight ends that you know what I mean, or just dumping it off to Freeman. And Freeman, the play wasn't for Freeman; it'd be for maybe Julio was the intended target, but he was able to check down, and it was just catching people on the heels. Yeah, like you said, this year everybody's gonna be ready for that. So, what are the Falcons gonna do? And one more thing, it's hard to make a next step when you're starting over. Because with Shanahan leaving, it's like Sarkisian. He's not. It's the same offense, but
play calling matters. Yeah.
So I'm scared a little bit. All that be.
Good. All right. Well, Thomas, before we get you, and risk you getting beat up at Panthers camp by asking about the Bears, Keyonne mentioned Kelvin Benjamin. How's Kelvin Benjamin looking? Is he still looking like an offensive tackle, or has he lost weight? What is he looking like? Is he
there? He's definitely lost weight. He looks pretty good. He looks like Kelvin Benjamin. He's running routes. He's never been the best route runner. Yeah. However, he's looking like Kelvin Benjamin. He'll be able to get up and explode and go up for the ball again. Because last year he was playing in cement cleats. With that extra, 500 pounds, but he's looking good. He's looking good. And also, I'll probably dial in sooner or later. I have a special guest I'm gonna bring on the show for a second, a little bit later.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Wow.
That folks, is what we call a teaser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Teaser.
All right. Well, all right. So we're gonna put you in the line of fire right now, really quickly. Speak as low as possible.
What the other hat?
What are you excited about as far
Carter
as
has
your Chicago Bears this year, Thomas?
I didn't hear you, sir. It was a lot of things going on. What did you say about the Bears?
I was saying that may be for the best. Just really quick.
You heard that?
What are your thoughts on any intriguing things you're looking for out of Chicago Bears camp this year?
I guess what they're talking about with Trubisky, they say he's looking pretty good out there. So I don't know if he's going to challenge Glennon or not, but they'll definitely say he's looking good. I know I read yesterday he had growing pains. He fumbled 3 snaps, with the center quarterback at chains. But the only thing I have to say about that is Mitchell Trubisky.
We know we hear the Defy Life Podcast. Know that.
Hey, but since you guys just mentioned Benjamin, he just came over near where I am now doing one-on-one routes. Okay. And he looks pretty good, putting his foot in the ground, getting out of his break. So he and Demir Bird, so Bird looks he looks super explosive though. Yeah. They look like night and day between the two gentlemen. Because Benjamin's methodical. He's more of a he's not really an athlete. Yeah. An explosive athlete, but he's a very rangy player. Yeah. But Bird, he's ridiculously explosive, man.
Yeah. And he's probably got 6 inches on Bird.
Yeah, he does. Bird looks. How tall is Bird? He looks like he's about 6 foot tall out here. Well, yeah, you're right. Still 6 inches on Bird.
Yeah.
Benjamin, 6'5"?
Yeah. He has good hands though. Oh, as soon as I say that, he drops one. But yeah.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to that guest, and can't wait to hear more about what's going on at Panthers camp.
I just want to mention this again. I saw Webb. He was taking snaps with the second and third team, but when they're in the quarterback drills, he doesn't join the gentleman. It's just Anderson and I don't know what number 4 is. I got to get back to you and let you know. Jay, you looked that up earlier. What was it? Gilbert? Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert. All of those 3 guys are with the quarterbacks, and they send Webb with the wide receiver. So he's not even in the throwing drills. And they did the same thing yesterday as well.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, as these guys go through camp, we all know how hot and excruciating training camp is. Speaking of excruciating, there's a study that came out this past week that revealed that 99% of NFL players who were studied, of course, posthumously. I think there were 112 players, former NFL players, who donated their brains to science. I found that 111 of them were tested positive for CTE, which is, of course, a degenerative brain disease caused by repeated head trauma. And so 99% of former NFL players and 89% of former players on all levels, so high school, college, semi-pro, Canadian Football League, NFL, that wide-ranging, 89% of all football players tested positive for CTE. And of course, at this point, it's something that can't be tested for until after death through a brain examination. So kind of limited results, but still really, really, really scary and jaw-dropping in a sense. Keyonne, what are your thoughts? I know you have a little boy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on, first of all, that study itself, and your thoughts on the future of football in your family?
So I start with. I'm glad you saw me first. I don't forget. I'm glad you started. The 89%. First of all, I start with that. Doesn't mean anything to me because it's too many levels combined. So you're saying high school, Canadian arena, like what's high school? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or so that 89% is like, I don't know. The 99. Exactly. So it's like, I would want to know what is high school, what is college, what is, but they have what they have and they have to present the data as they have it. So I understand. But the 99% is it makes you, you got a choice, I guess. If you are looking for the NFL to be your career, then this is what you pretty much have to look forward to. You know what I mean? It's 99% is like, if the weatherman says a 99% chance of rain, you better get an umbrella. Like, it's gonna rain. You know what I mean? So if you want the NFL to be your career, then you gotta know that this is what you have in store. As far as my son playing, I don't think it's it. I'll let him play. You know what I mean? I'm gonna let him play like at high school though. I'm gonna wait. Then Jay, we talked about this offline. When he gets like 13, 14, that's when I let him play for football. This is such a contact sport. I'm getting him into martial arts when he's like 5. You know what I mean? And they get their balance right and whatnot. Baseball, let him get in that real young. You know what I mean? But the contact stuff, much later, if he wants to. Not pushing him to it. You know what I mean? And it'd be his decision. All this information will be out. Now, another thing, what do you think about this happening? For what is the effects of this on the NFL? I don't think this is good, brother, for the future of the league. That's one thing I read a couple weeks ago is that, and this was before this study came out, so probably even more so pertaining to it now, but studies like this are gonna kind of lead to a ghettoization of football. And when I read that, I was offended at first. So what do they mean by ghettoization? But I don't
if you look at it in that sense, is that kind of like how boxing has become, because of the head trauma and the history we've seen with the lasting effects of boxers, is how it's become a last way out for a lot of people who come from poverty. And so a lot of people who have options will stay away from those sports. You know what I'm saying? So kids from the suburbs, kids whose parents are more, are able to get them involved in other things and have options, will stay away from football. And that's feasible. You're right. And that'll affect the pipeline into the NFL. And it's definitely something that could hinder it. I mean, because at one point, boxing was the biggest sport on earth.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not out of the question. All empires fall, and the NFL right now is an empire. So it's definitely something to look at. Al, what are your thoughts on the study itself, and the history of your son playing football, and what do you see as far as the future, what these kind of studies may lead to?
Well, first let me say, if my weatherman say that it's a 90% chance of rain, I'm taking the umbrella. It don't have to be 99%. 90% is pretty good too. So, and when I look at the study, like both statistics, are staggering.
Yeah.
And when you really think, 90% is 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
And the way I hear that data, I hear your concern, Key, but the way I hear that data, it's 90% at all levels of football. Your chances, regardless, we look at all levels of football, your chance of ending up with this, 90%. And you look at, the numbers of boys, males that play this sport, and when you're saying 90 could be impacted, shit, even if it's 60% of them, you know what I mean? Like, so 90% is what they're reporting, but let's just say they're off and drastically off. If half of them could be impacted by this disease, so that's a lot of people.
Okay, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So this is why it's troubling to me. So in order for them to test your brain, first you have to die, then you have to agree to donate your brain to them to test, right? So that's why I say it's troubling. How many high school players have died and then agreed to donate their brains to the study? You see what I'm saying? How many college players? So how many arena football players? If you had like 2 high school players that died and went through the procedures, none of them were had the CTE, but the arena guys, 5 of them, and they all had it. It's going to skew the data. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally agree with you. And it's not about, I admit that their numbers can't be valid. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be some better truth to that number where it would bring it down. But again, if it brings it down to 60, you know what? If someone wants to tell me, Alvin, if you drink orange juice, you got a 30% chance of getting cancer, I would stop drinking orange juice.
Okay.
30% is good enough for me. If you can link it somehow, because I ain't that lucky, so I might be at 30%. So okay. I'm not gonna bet on 70%. 30% is good enough when you're linking it to death or something that's really, really harmful. So okay. You know what I mean? If 90% is really lower number, which I'm sure it is, it still speaks to the risk people are taking in playing this sport with football. I mean, with helmets, and it's just a real dangerous sport. Yeah. That's what I really take from it. And in regards to my son, he played, he's 20 years old. He probably played for about 4 years. Okay. From like when he was 9, because I waited. You know what I mean? I wanted to wait till he was not 5, 6. I wanted to wait till he was a little boy and can make the choice a little bit on his own and me not feed him into the sport. But what I learned was by the time he got there at 9, there were boys who had been playing for 4 years.
Yeah.
So in many ways, me making that choice, me and his mom making that choice, he got into the sport behind, and it was noticeable. Like, just in terms of getting acclimated to the contact of the sport, it was very, very noticeable when you got some of these boys that have been playing since they was 5 and like look like Troy Polamalu on the field, going out there laying hits and making plays. Yeah. And he ended up stopping by the time he got to high school just because he didn't see a future. So when he get to high school sports, there were just better opportunities in terms of athletics in his school, and he went another route. And I'm glad I mean, looking back, I'm kind of glad just because he's not the biggest of males. He's built like me, not somebody who's going to have a great impact in the sport. So that being said, why put your body through that risk? And from the parent side, have me worried up in the stands is, somebody gonna break your neck. And he had a neck injury playing one of the years, got laid out, and we had to take him out on the stretcher.
Damn.
Yeah. Now, wasn't no long-term nothing, but it did happen. And we were like, oh. So we got to see that. And I think when you have a small body, you are, in this sport, you're prone to that type of injury because there's a lot of big dudes running real fast with bad intentions. Which is why